Thai Prime Minister faces no confidence motion in Parliament. Canada calls for snap elections. Hello and good afternoon. Salam Malaysia Madani. This is World Today. I'm Mohana Priya. Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra faces a no-confidence motion in Parliament starting today, with the opposition set to grill her over an underperforming economy and her powerful father's perceived influence over her administration. Despite lukewarm ratings in opinion polls, Paetongtarn comes into the debate in a firm position with no signs of turmoil in a ruling coalition that commands a parliamentary majority. The vote on the motion is scheduled on Wednesday. The opposition People's Party has accused Paetongtarn of taking direction from her father, former Premier Thaksin Shinawatra. Thaksin, Thailand's most influential politician, has loomed large over Thai politics for the past 24 years. Paetongtarn has insisted that her government is not under anyone's influence, while Thaksin has said he is retired and only offers advice. The government's economic measures so far have yet to spur significant growth in Southeast Asia's second-largest economy, with last year's 2.5% expansion far adrift of regional peers. The anchors to growth, including structural issues and household debt of 16.34 trillion baht, or 89% of GDP, among the highest ratios in Asia. South Korea's Constitutional Court dismissed the impeachment of Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, reinstating him as acting president, a role he was given after the president was suspended for declaring martial law. Now, Han's impeachment was dismissed in a 5-1 vote by the court's 8 justices, with 2 justices voting to reject the impeachment motion entirely. The court ruling is the latest development in South Korea's complex and political crisis, sparked by suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol's attempt to subvert civilian rule last December. The opposition-controlled parliament impeached Yoon's replacement, Han, just weeks after he assumed the role. Lawmakers criticize Han for refusing to appoint more judges to the Constitutional Court, which will decide on Yoon's impeachment, and for his alleged involvement in the martial law debacle. With only 6 judges at the time, Yoon's reinstatement was possible, even if 1 judge opposed impeachment. The opposition had called for 3 more to be appointed, taking the court up to a full bench. The court's decision was closely scrutinized, coming just before the highly anticipated ruling on suspended President Yoon's impeachment, with a date still pending. Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte believes he has no case to answer at the International Criminal Court. His daughter Sara Duterte, Vice President of the Philippines, is confident that her father has a strong legal argument. Speaking to reporters on Sunday, she said her father is now in better health after appearing fatigued and dazed at his first hearing at the ICC. The 79-year-old former president faces a charge of crimes against humanity tied to his war on drugs, in which thousands were killed. In the ICC chief prosecutor's application for his arrest, he said Duterte's alleged crimes were part of a widespread and systematic attack directed against the civilian population in the Philippines. He is currently in a detention center in The Hague, awaiting a confirmation of charges hearing on 23rd September, where he will have the opportunity to contest the accusations against him. Duterte was bundled into a plane in Manila and brought to The Hague via Dubai, appearing barely awake at his initial hearing 2 days later. New Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney on Sunday called a snap election for 28th April, saying he needed a strong mandate to deal with the threat that US President Donald Trump's tariffs pose to the economy. Although the next election was not due until 20th October, Carney is hoping to capitalize on a remarkable recovery by his Liberal Party in the polls since January. This is when Trump began threatening Canada and former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his resignation.
But what's important is that the government has a mandate from the Canadian people to finish the job of building that Canadian economy, to finish the job of diversifying our trading partners, and to have a strong mandate to stand up to Donald Trump and the Americans and negotiate the best deal for Canadians. And that's what I will do.
Carney, a former two-time central banker with no previous political or election campaign experience, captured the Liberal leadership 2 weeks ago by persuading party members he was the best person to tackle Trump. Polls suggest the Liberals, who have been in power since 2015, are now slightly ahead of their rivals. The Conservatives have sought to portray Carney as an elitist who plans to continue the Trudeau-era policy of high government spending. An online Angus Reid poll of 4,009 people released on Monday put the Liberals on 42% public support and the Conservatives on 37%. Turkish opposition figure Ekrem İmamoğlu has become the face of a nationwide protest movement that erupted with his arrest, triggering the worst unrest in over a decade. İmamoğlu, 53, was catapulted into the headlines this week after his dawn arrest in a graft and terror probe. In just 4 days, he went from being Istanbul's popular mayor to being arrested, interrogated, then jailed on the day the main opposition CHP held a primary to name him their candidate for the 2028 presidential race. He is widely seen as the only politician who could defeat Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan at the ballot box. After a sensational entry into politics in 2019, when he was elected mayor of Turkey's economic powerhouse, İmamoğlu quickly became a key figure within the party. But since then, his career has been overshadowed by a string of what critics say are politically motivated legal cases designed to cripple his plans to run for Turkey's top job.
Welcome to On the Table.
Obviously, there are two main engines of growth in any economies.
What are the implications of Malaysia's growth on employment, income levels, and also standard of living per population?
From a historical perspective, it's been good.
The capacity in our country can be built to be in the same level as the world standards.
Wife of US VP Vance to make high-profile visit to Greenland. Usha Vance, the wife of US Vice President J.D. Vance, will travel to Greenland on Thursday as President Donald Trump clings to the idea of a US annexation of strategic semi-autonomous Danish territory. She will visit Greenland with a US delegation to tour historical sites, learn about the territory's heritage, and attend the national dog sled race, according to the White House in a statement. The delegation is expected to return to the U.S. on the 29th of March. Separately, White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and Energy Secretary Chris Wright will visit a U.S. military base in Greenland as part of the trip, according to a U.S. official. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Trump has made U.S. annexation of Greenland a major talking point since taking office for a second time on the 20th of January. Greenland's strategic location and rich mineral resources could benefit the U.S. as it lies along the shortest route from Europe to North America, vital for the U.S. ballistic missile warning system. The governments of both Greenland and Denmark have voiced opposition to such a move. The Greenlandic government, which currently is in a caretaker period after an 11th March general election won by a party that favors a slow approach to independence from Denmark, did not reply to requests for comments. Beijing hosted a business forum on Sunday attended by international executives and politicians as China seeks to attract foreign investment at a time of heightened geopolitical tensions. Now, China's policymakers are also trying to boost domestic consumption to offset fresh U.S. tariff headwinds. Foreign CEOs, including Tim Cook of Apple, Cristiano Amon of Qualcomm, Pascal Soriot of AstraZeneca, and Amin Nasir of Saudi Aramco, were among the attendees. Chinese Premier Li Qiang addressed the Chinese Development Forum, attended by visiting U.S. Republican Senator Steve Daines, and urged countries to open their markets to combat rising instability and uncertainty, as reported by state media. There were fewer American CEOs attending the summit than last year due to heightened tensions between Beijing and Washington. According to one source, Lee met with Daines and 7 other American CEOs on Sunday afternoon, which Daines billed as a chance for them to share their views of the business environment in China. Taiwan said on Sunday it had detained a Chinese boat suspected of illegally supplying fuel to fishing boats trespassing Taiwanese waters. According to the Coast Guard, the incident happened off the northwest coast near the cities of Taiwan and Hsinchu, south of the capital, Taipei. The boat ignored repeated warnings and zigzagged to flee before it was brought under control. The Coast Guard said the boat was an unregistered Chinese refueling boat with its name painted over. The Coast Guard said, adding that it was operating in Taiwan's restricted waters. It added that the boat had no name, no registered home port, and no ship certificate. It was carrying around 500,000 liters of fuel and had attempted to supply fuel to other Chinese vessels unlawfully entering Taiwanese waters. The Coast Guard further added the 6 crew members on board were Chinese nationals with no identification documents. Illegal fishing by Chinese boats has been a recurring concern from Taiwan, which had stepped up patrols to deter unauthorized boats and activities. The South Korean government has approved special financial grants to support a recovery effort in Sancheong and 2 other regions affected by wildfires, as announced by Acting President Choi Sang-mok during a disaster control meeting. More than 200 residents in 15 southern villages have been told to evacuate. A special disaster and safety grant of 2.6 billion won, that's $177.4 million US, will be provided to the 3 wildfire-affected regions, according to Yonhap news agency quoting Choi. In addition, the government will allocate 50 million won in disaster relief funds to assist evacuees and victims in the southeastern county of Sancheong. According to the Presidential Office, Presidential Chief of Staff Chung Jin-suk also held a meeting with senior secretaries to discuss immediate measures to bring the situation under control. The fire, which began in Sancheong County Friday afternoon, prompted the deployment of 304 personnel along with 20 helicopters. Wildfires occurred in several other areas across the country, with 16 instances reported on Saturday alone. The Interior Ministry later declared a state of emergency in Ulsan and North and South Gyeongsang provinces due to the extensive damage caused by simultaneous wildfires across the country. An Israeli airstrike on Sunday killed a member of Hamas' political bureau as he underwent treatment in hospital, a source in the Palestinian movement said after Israel confirmed its target. Requesting anonymity to speak more freely, the Hamas source said the Israeli army assassinated Hamas political bureau member Ismail Baroum. Fire engulfs the emergency department of Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis after an Israeli airstrike killed a member of Hamas political bureau as he received treatment. Warplanes bombed the operating room of the hospital, where Baroum was receiving treatment after sustaining critical injuries in an airstrike targeting his home in Khan Yunis at dawn last Tuesday. The building of about 4 stories were, however, largely undamaged, except for fire blazing in one section of a stairwell. Barhoum is the fourth member of Hamas political bureau killed since last Tuesday when Israel resumed airstrikes in the territory after an impasse over continuing a ceasefire. Israel's defense minister Israel Katz confirmed in a statement that Barhoum had been targeted in the strike. Yemen's Houthi rebels said one person had been killed and 13 others injured in strikes late on Sunday on the capital Sana'a, and they blamed on the United States. Houthi Health Ministry spokesperson Anis Al-Asbahi in a statement said a citizen was killed while 13 others injured, including 3 children, in the final toll of the U.S. aggression on a residential building in the Asir area. Earlier, Houthi media had reported U.S. strikes on a residential building in Sana'a, as well as the group's rebel heartland of Saada. The United States did not immediately confirm whether it had conducted strikes on Sana'a, but a defense official said that U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, is conducting strikes across multiple locations of Iran-backed Houthi locations every day and night in Yemen. On the 15th of March, the U.S. announced a new military offensive promising to use overwhelming force until the rebels stop firing on vessels in the key shipping routes in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. That day saw a wave of U.S. airstrikes that officials said killed senior Houthi leaders and which the rebels' health ministry said killed 53 people. The Houthis targeted ships in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden after the start of the Gaza war until a ceasefire began in January, claiming solidarity with the Palestinian people.
Hai, bersama-sama kami Awatar AI Berita RTM, saya Aaron Lim.
Dan saya Cik Rita. Musim perayaan ini kami ada sedikit pesanan.
Sebelum keluar dari rumah, pastikan pintu dan tingkap dikunci. Jangan lupa tutup suis dan paip air juga.
Periksa kenderaan dulu sebelum memulakan perjalanan.
Rancang perjalanan dan sentiasa berhati-hati ketika memandu. Pakai tali pinggang keledar dan elakkan penggunaan telefon bimbit.
Kalau rasa penat atau mengantuk, rehat sekejap di R&R yang disediakan. Atau berhenti di tempat yang selamat.
Pantau juga anak-anak kecil ketika berhari raya. Adik-adik, jangan main mercun. Bahaya.
Hari raya memanglah makanan sedap-sedap. Tapi makan kena beringat juga. Kurangkan makanan berlemak dan bergula.
Akhir sekali, pada hari raya ini, hargai setiap detik bersama yang tersayang.
Pesanan ikhlas daripada kami di RTM, teman setia anda. Selamat Hari Raya Aidilfitri. Maaf zahir dan batin. Syukuri Syawal.
Syukuri Syawal.
Coming up in sports, Djokovic sets new Masters 1,000 record with win in Miami. Stay with us. Six times champion Novak Djokovic moved into the fourth round of the Miami Open with a 6-1, 7-6 triumph Sunday over Argentine lucky loser Camilo Ugo Carabelli that moved the Serbian fourth seed ahead of Rafael Nadal and into top spot on the all-time list of Masters 1,000 match wins. Now Djokovic, who is also seeking a record 7th Miami title, will next face Lorenzo Musetti after the Italian 15th seed beat Canada's Felix Auger-Aliassime 4-6, 6-2, 6-3. The Serb, seeded fourth, looked on course for a comfortable victory against the Argentine world number 65 when he took the first set in just 34 minutes and broke early in the second. But lucky loser Ugo Carabelli began to show more resistance, breaking back immediately and forcing the tiebreak. The 24-time Grand Slam champion, however, showed his class and comfortably took the tiebreak 7-1 to seal victory.
Honestly, I wasn't thinking about it too much, but of course, honored to have another milestone, another record broken. There's always something on the line, pretty much every time I play, and of course that motivates me as well to do well on the tournament.
The win moves Djokovic on to 411 wins in ATP Masters 1000 events, moving him ahead of Nadal and into top spot on the all-time list. The 37-year-old, seeking a 7th Miami Open title, will play Lorenzo Musetti in the last 16. Earlier, Grigor Dimitrov conjured up some more Miami magic to hit an ATP Masters 1000 milestone. The 2024 finalist dug deep for a 6-7, 6-4, 7-5 triumph against Karen Krachanov in a match full of high-octane baseline exchanges. Yet, it was Dimitrov who penetrated his opponent's defense more frequently, and he completed his third-round victory at Hard Rock Stadium, having struck 46 winners to Kachanov's 23. Elsewhere, Greece Stefanos Tsitsipas, who won his first title in over a year last month in Dubai, fell to 24th-seeded American Sebastian Korda 7-6, 6-3. Despite letting slip a 5-3 lead in the first set, Korda held firm for a 95-minute triumph to improve to 9-3 in Miami. A quarterfinalist at Hard Rock Stadium in 2021, Korda will take on Gael Monfils or Jean Monod next as he bids to equal that run this year. Meanwhile, former champion Iga Swiatek earned a 7-6, 6-1 win over Elise Mertens on Sunday that put the Polish second seed into the last 16 at the Miami Open. Now, with the win over the Belgian 27th seed Mertens, Swiatek became the first player to reach the last 16 of a WTA 1000 event in 25 consecutive appearances. Swiatek built a seemingly comfortable 5-2 lead in the first set, but Mertens managed to claw back to 5-all before the Pole ran away with the tiebreaker and breezed through the second. Swiatek didn't look back from that point on as she made short work of the second set, and she acknowledged she had struggled on her serve. Her first service percentage went from 60% to 79% in the second set. Up next for Swiatek will be a clash with Ukrainian 22nd seed Elina Svitolina after capping a win over Czech 15th seed Karolina Muchova. Svitolina, who arrived in Miami fresh off a quarterfinal run at Indian Wells where she lost to eventual champion Mira Andreeva, is now into the last 16 in Miami for the 5th time in her career. Australian Oscar Piastri roared back from season-opening disappointment to win the Chinese Formula One Grand Prix, and McLaren won 2 on Sunday, while Ferrari had both drivers disqualified. Lando Norris held on with fading brakes for second place ahead of Mercedes rival George Russell to stretch his championship lead over Red Bull's Max Verstappen to 8 points after 2 race weekends. Verstappen was 4th with Ferrari's Charles Leclerc and Saturday's sprint winner Lewis Hamilton finishing 5th and 6th before being disqualified when their cars failed post-race technical checks. Leclerc was underweight while Hamilton had suffered excessive skid wear. Piastri's win from pole position denied Norris a 3rd victory in a row, including last year's Abu Dhabi season ender, but left champions McLaren still unbeaten this season. Norris finished 9.748 seconds behind on a similar one-stop strategy, and after struggling with a long brake pedal that became critical towards the end. Esteban Ocon collected Haas' first points of the campaign in 5th with Alex Albon. British rookie Oliver Bearman was 8th after finishing 10th, and Lance Stroll 9th with Carlos Sainz 10th for Williams, despite them finishing 12th and 13th on track respectively. Welshman Elfyn Evans won Safari Rally Kenya to extend his World Rally Championship lead to 36 points after 3 rounds. The 36-year-old Toyota driver recorded back-to-back victories for the first time, finishing more than a minute ahead of Estonian Ott Tänak. Hyundai's Tanak led the race before breaking a drive shaft on Friday, while Evans' Toyota teammate Cal Robin Pera retired after a string of problems. It was Evans' first victory in Kenya, but a fifth safari success in a row for Toyota.
An amazing rally, I have to say, a huge well done to the team. They did an amazing job, and I'm proud to be a very small part of the history of Toyota in this special rally.
Takamoto Katsuta was on course for a fourth-place finish but rolled his Toyota on the Wolf Power stage. Last year's championship winner Thierry Neuville moved up from fourth place to second on 52 points, with Tanak third on 49. Having won Thursday's opening stage and 2 on Saturday, Evans and co-driver Scott Martin took a lead of just under 2 minutes into Sunday. However, given the atronal nature of the rally, the Toyota Gazoo racing duo opted for a safety-first approach in the final 5 stages. Round 4 of the 14-race calendar is the Rally Islas Canarias from 24th to 27th April. And on to football. Thomas Tuchel has held constructive discussions with Marcus Rashford and Phil Foden after criticising their minimal impact on the wings against Albania, the England coach said on Sunday ahead of their next World Cup qualifier against Latvia. Both Rashford and Foden were substituted in the second half of Friday's 2-0 win over Albania at Wembley Stadium, where they were largely peripheral figures, with Tuchel demanding more aggressive runs towards the box.
I've spoken to both of them, also in front of the group. They know that I appreciate the effort, I think, especially off the ball. We can see in the numbers, and we can see when we watch the match again how much effort they put into defending high, into the counter press, also in their sprinting numbers.
Tuchel said Foden needed to build better connections with the midfield, while Rashford had been unlucky with the timing of his runs. Tuchel gave no clues as to who would start against Latvia on Monday, but suggested some fresh players could come in. Meanwhile, winger Anthony Gordon withdrew from the squad due to an injury sustained in the win over Albania and returned to his club Newcastle United for further assessment. Gordon came on as a substitute in the latter stages of the game, but went down with what appeared to be a hip injury.
Semangat Harimau Melaya membara. Sorakan sokongan untuk pasukan kebangsaan kita yang membawa nama negara ke kejohanan terbesar Asia. Dalam perlawanan kelayakan Piala Asia AFC 2027, Selasa 25 Mac, Malaysia bertemu Nepal 9.30 malam di saluran Sukan RTM dan saluran OK. Saksikan juga secara penstreaman langsung di RTM Click.
And that's it from us this afternoon. In our top story today, Thai Prime Minister faces no confidence motion in Parliament. Malaysia Tonight comes on at 8:30 this evening on TV1 and MyTV's Berita RTM news channel. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm Mohana Priya. Thank you for your company.